Welcome! Today we're diving into the story of an idea, a really powerful idea that completely changed how we think about getting older. It's all about the concept that older adults can actually form their own distinct subcultures. It's a fascinating journey and it has some huge real-world implications.
So let me ask you this. When people get older, do they join some kind of secret subculture? I know, it sounds a little bit like science fiction, right? But what if I told you that for a lot of people, this is actually closer to the truth than you might think? This very question is really the heart of our whole story today.
Okay, so our story starts where a lot of great ideas do, with someone just paying close attention to a world that was rapidly changing. So let's set the scene.
Let's go back in time to post-war America. In the 1950s, people were starting to live longer than ever before. Then, the 1960s roll around, and we see the rise of suburbs and these brand new things called retirement communities. And right in the middle of all this change, a few sharp-eyed sociologists started to notice something new, a new social pattern taking shape.
And this is where our main character enters the story, a sociologist named Arnold M. Rose. Back in 1962, he had this totally groundbreaking insight. He realized that older people weren't just this random collection of individuals who happened to be over 65. No, he saw that in certain situations, they were actually creating their own social world, a distinct group.
Okay, so Rose uses this term subculture. But what did he actually mean by that? What does an aged subculture really look like? Let's break down the core of his big idea.
At its heart, it's pretty straightforward. It's this idea that when older adults are brought together, either by choice, like in a retirement community, or by circumstance, they can develop their own unique community. And this little community comes with its own rules, its own shared values, its own social life. It's a way to navigate the big changes that come with getting older.
Now, here's a brilliant way to think about it, and I love this analogy from the source material. It says to think of a school reunion that never ends. It just clicks, right? You all have this shared history, and from that you get inside jokes, you have the same priorities, and there's this real sense of belonging. Well, that's the feeling. That's the essence of what Rose was talking about.
So how does this whole thing even happen? Well, Rose pointed to 4 key steps. First, you need concentration. People have to be brought together, physically or socially. Second, they connect over shared life events, things everyone's going through, like retirement. Third, the old ways of measuring who you are, like your job title, they start to fade. And new things, like your health or your wisdom, become the new status markers. And finally, they band together. They form this kind of defensive solidarity to support each other and face things like ageism.
And what you end up with is this whole new social system. Your status isn't about what you used to do for a living, it's about what you can do now. There's a huge emphasis on helping each other out, on sharing memories, and out of all of that, a new sense of identity, a shared group consciousness starts to emerge.
Of course, in science, having a good idea isn't enough. You've got to put it to the test. So researchers rolled up their sleeves and set out to answer the big question. Is any of this actually true in the real world?
And the results were, well, they were fascinatingly mixed. On the one hand, yeah, the evidence did stack up. Studies found that people in retirement communities often had higher morale. They saw unique social patterns. But on the other hand, the critiques were just as important. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing. Your experience is going to be totally different depending on your class, your race, your gender, and these groups were often way more social than they were politically active.
But here's what's so cool about a really powerful idea. The story doesn't end there. It didn't just die because of some criticism. Nope, it adapted. It evolved to become smarter, more nuanced, and a lot more accurate.
You can really see the whole journey on this timeline. After Rose's big idea in the 60s, the next few decades were all about poking holes in it, bringing in other theories to add more context. And that whole process was absolutely crucial. It forced the idea to get better, and it led to the much more sophisticated way we think about it today.
So here's the modern take. The single biggest shift is that we don't talk about one age subculture anymore. We know now that there are many of them. We understand that things like race and class are just as important as age in shaping your experience. And maybe most importantly, we see older adults as having agency. They are the active creators of their own worlds, even in totally new places like online forums or Facebook groups.
Which brings us to the big question, the most important one of all. Why should we care about a 60-year-old theory from sociology? Well, the answer actually has huge implications for every single one of us.
To really get why this matters, check out this other fantastic analogy.
Think of a subculture as being like a garden. Its ability to grow and really thrive depends completely on the kind of soil it's planted in.
So think about it. If the soil is fertile, full of supportive communities, shared spaces, good services, then a vibrant social culture can absolutely flourish. But if that soil is rocky, if it's marked by isolation, a lack of resources, that social garden is really going to struggle to grow.
And that right there is the ultimate takeaway. This isn't just some dusty academic theory. It's a practical tool. It helps us figure out how to design everything from housing to social programs to new tech. It helps us answer the question, are our policies going to isolate people, or are we going to empower them to build their own supportive communities?
So, I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. Arnold Rose saw a new world taking shape back in the 1960s. Today, we are living through another period of massive, massive change, mostly driven by the internet and technology. So the question for our time is this: what new kinds of communities, what new virtual gardens will the next generation of older adults create for themselves?